I have recently gone through a very interesting phase in my life where previously, probably just a few months ago, where I was doing affirmations every day. I had a list that was written out on the notes section of my phone, and I would go through it almost every single day. And while I was reading out those affirmations, I would be feeling excited as I read them. I would be feeling inspired and excited by those reminders that I was trying to give myself and trying to wire into me every second of every day. And I just started falling out of the habit of it. And it's now been some months later. I can't pinpoint exactly how many months. And I've just been in a bit of a pit, it's just, I've not been in the right place. I feel like I have been trying to exist in a mind space that I used to find so easy to stay in every single day. But I'm not making an active enough effort to be in that place. I'm just sort of hoping that it will be there, giving it a half-assed attempt, and then getting on with my day and wondering why things don't feel right. And I didn't make the link between my lack of doing affirmations and the shift in myself, like feeling more down, feeling less hopeful, feeling more bothered by circumstances that I feel like I would have been able to brush away a bit easier back a few months ago. And then it was just, one of those lovely moments where the universe comes through and gives you a little sign. I was reading All About Love by Bell Hooks, and she mentioned affirmations in there. And she mentioned how she started using them, and in the day it would give her a little energy boost. And I started thinking about it for a second, and I started thinking about the lack of affirmations in my life. For some reason, they'd just come to a standstill. I would maybe just, when I was in a moment of frustration and hopelessness, feeling a bit out of control, would just chuck one out there and start repeating it in my head, but it just felt forced, and it didn't feel like I was actually putting in the time to, put that time aside in a day to devote to feeling my full potential, to tapping into everything that I can be, and really giving it my time and attention, really giving it the chance to change my brain chemistry, to get woven in to the fiber of my being. Because when I had that routine, that system that I was doing some months back every single day, that's what I was doing. I was reshaping my brain chemistry. So then I came to this point where I started to acknowledge this link between the shift in the way that I was and the fact that I had stopped practicing one of my favorite and apparently very important practices in a day. So I told myself it was time to start again. And so I opened up my notes app where I used to have the old affirmations on, and I'm reading through them, and they just weren't resonating in the same way. I felt so far away from the person that would read those every night and feel something so invigorating from those affirmations. And as I was reading through these old affirmations that I used to use so often, I began to realize that in my current present day, I was trying to be the person that believed in those affirmations, but I was no longer putting aside time to actively try to integrate them into my life. And this came through, many different forms and little mental practices throughout the day, but I didn't realize how significant it was just to say them out loud, just to acknowledge my potential with those sentences that I would repeat. It's like I knew what I wanted to be, and I knew the mindset that I wanted to be in. I knew the the values that I wanted to hold dear in my life. And I lost contact with them because I wasn't taking up that time in that space to take part in that practice. So on a day-to-day basis, I would be trying to act like that girl, like that woman who had that faith, that had that hope, that had that passion in the day, that had that drive, that didn't get easily put down by the 3D world. I felt like I was only applying that version of myself in moments of panic. I wasn't reinforcing it or integrating it in a way that was meaningful. I was doing it in a way that was trying to put a quick fix on things, that was convinced that it should be a quick and simple and easy task to be able to get into that state. But I wasn't putting the time or energy into it, but I expected to see the results. I expected to see myself growing more aligned with this version of myself that I wanted to be, when, without me even realizing it, I was devoting less time in a day to reminding myself what it looks like to be that person. When we are affirming, we begin to imagine what that version of ourselves that we want to be aligned with, what it looks like. Imagination is so important. It's the first step in allowing us to create and allowing us to be. So yes, I was looking back at these old affirmations and I was like, this doesn't feel like me anymore. I think that I can come back to a place where I can read these affirmations and they resonate, but right now I feel so far from it in a way that I had not realized I was so far from, because I was so convinced that I knew that I had, I guess, integrated those affirmations into myself entirely enough that I didn't need to look at them. Clearly, that was not true, because I was reading through these affirmations and they felt so far from me. So I wrote myself a little note in my notes section saying that I've come to a point where the above affirmations are no longer resonating with me. I'm going to take a moment to listen to my wants and my needs, to things that are really stressing me out, things that I'm finding myself tangled in with in my 3D reality. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to take a moment to look at them, really look at them, instead of pretending that they're not there and pretending that I am the super confident, faithful, blah, blah, blah person. I'm just going to sit with them. I'm going to hear the story that they are trying to tell me. And I'm going to now write out affirmations that directly respond to those needs in me that I'm experiencing in this moment, so I can begin to align, so I can begin to really get to the nitty-gritty of understanding what it is that I'm actually wanting in this moment. We cannot understand what we want if we do not feel and experience the things that we do not want. We cannot begin to imagine a better world for ourselves if we can't even stare the current reality that we have right in the face. And I realize for the past few, I don't know however long, probably months, but that I have been shifting into this place that is not ideal. I was completely misaligning with myself because I was so terrified of settling into being in a reality that was not desirable. I was very, very much avoiding coming to terms with the solid realities because I was like, no, that reality isn't me. That's not me. That's not happening. Don't even need to look at that for another second because I'm all the way over here. But I wasn't. I just wasn't, and that is completely okay. Fear, it's not going to get us any further in life. I think that it's a trap that a lot of us can get stuck into. Because life can be a bit of a cycle. Sometimes we'll be going through really, really good highs, really, really good periods where we feel like we're in control and we're in the driver's seat and we feel so faithful and we're in the place mentally and spiritually that we want to be. And so when we see that sort of turning in on itself, that creates fear. It's like, well, what's going wrong? What am I doing wrong? This can't be the case. I've been through this before And I've already gotten out on the other side. Why am I back here? But I'm telling you, the only way that you can get through that is not to pretend that it's a fleeting moment that will pass. Sometimes they absolutely are, but I'm talking, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those feelings that keep on coming back and those patterns that keep on popping up, and you keep on pretending that they're not there, but they are, and you need to take active effort to look them in the face so that we can take the next step to creating with them, so that we can take the next step to growing with them. They are a part of us, and you should be valuing and loving every single part of you. And you cannot be valuing and loving every single part of you if you're not including the darker sides of you in that. The darker sides of us are places of potential that absolutely have the capacity to be transformed, but they have to be given the right things. If you overwater a plant, it's going to die too. If you give a plant too much sunlight, it's going to die too. It needs to be specific and it needs to be tailored to each and every situation. You deserve to give yourself the love and the care and the attention that you need to be able to get through whatever it is that you're going through right now. For me, putting in the effort means coming back to this system, this routine that I have with affirmations, because it means that I'm choosing to take time out of my day to envision, to imagine, to directly acknowledge certain things, to very much imagine my future, because imagining is the first step that comes before creation, always. Thank you so much for listening. Your journey is continuing every single day. You can turn anything around at any moment. There is no rush. There is beauty in taking it slowly. Love to you all.